All right, so today I want to talk about Ohio State and exactly how aggressive they've been in the transfer portal. And I also want to touch on how some of their moves may set a standard and impact how other teams operate when it comes to this time of year, and that the transfer portal may be turning into a type of free agency for college football. It's interesting, but it's fascinating to watch how the business of college football is continuing to evolve and change as new practices like the transfer portal and NIL are being implemented and are starting to take form and have an identity in the NCAA for football. So let's look at some of these players that Ohio State has acquired through the transfer portal, and I'll go through the purpose of why they did what they did. So first and foremost, safety Caleb Downs from Alabama, who's in 24/7 Sports is rated as a 99 as a transfer, which is unbelievable. I didn't think he was going to go to Ohio State. My crystal ball, my intuition told me he was going to Georgia. But Ohio State surprised me, but they were very aggressive in their pursuit of him. Julian Sayin, who was originally committed to Alabama and went to a couple classes here, he was a 98 in his transfer portal rating on 24/7 Sports. Running back Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss, who was a fantastic running back for the past 2 years with the Rebels, started as a freshman where he completely stormed onto the scene. He's rated at a 96 for his transfer portal rating in 24/7 Sports. And Will Howard, the quarterback from Kansas State, who's rated at a 92. He's been starting for Kansas State for the past 2 years, and now he's getting a fresh start at Ohio State, so it'll be interesting to see how he fits into that system. What's also interesting to note about Ohio State's transfer portal strategy this offseason is that they are the only team in the 24/7 Sports transfer portal team rankings, in the top 10 of those rankings, that have more than one five-star transfer. So they were really going for quality over quantity. There's a lot of teams at top 10 who got a lot of players, a lot of 4 stars, even 3 stars. But to get 2 5 stars out of one cycle is pretty significant. And it is undoubtedly going to change what product you deliver on the field. So that was their strategy, but I always like to peel back the layers of why they did what they did. That's what makes college football fascinating. Back in, let's say, in the offseason in 2021, the New England Patriots went on an absolute haul. That was the season they got Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith and a couple others, and New England spent a lot of money in the offseason in free agency, which was very unlike them under Bill Belichick. But that was in response to the rise, the ascent of the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. They felt the pressure from that competition from the Bills. They saw the Bills getting better. They saw the Bills becoming Super Bowl contenders, and that's what the Patriots once were. The Patriots were for almost 2 decades, and they're looking at Buffalo and they're saying, "Hey, they're becoming what we once were. We have to respond." Well, that is exactly what Ohio State has done. They looked to the north, up to Ann Arbor, and they saw the product that Michigan has been delivering on the fields every year. They've had 3 straight college football playoff berths. Ohio State has missed the college football playoff in 2 of the 3 past years. But Ohio State was a fixture. Ohio State at one point dominated Michigan. Ohio State was going to the Big Ten championship every year. Ohio State was going to the college football playoff more often than not. That was their sandbox. And now Michigan has jumped in their sandbox, pushed them out, and they're playing all the toys in it right now. Well, if you know how intense that rivalry is, Ohio State is not going to stand for that. With their rich tradition, with their financial resources, with their support from boosters, They are not going to succumb to that. They're not going to continue to let that happen. Michigan has beaten them the last 3 years. When I was growing up, when I was in high school, early college, it was a yearly tradition Ohio State beating Michigan. And now the tables have been turned, and Ohio State can't stand it. And this is their response. And to bring it back to the NFL example that I created, this is like free agency. When teams in the NFL feel like their rivals are putting pressure on them, are getting better, and they feel like they're kind of falling behind, they respond with free agency. They respond with spending money to enhance their product on the field. And that is what Ohio State has done. And it signifies what college football is becoming. And I know there's a bad connotation to that, but I want to bring out a positive connotation. It's going to become a game of strategy every year. Teams at the end of every season is assessing where they are, looking themselves in the mirror and saying, hey, what do we have to do? How are we going to strategize? Are we going to hit the transfer portal? How much money do we have to spend? How much money do we want to invest in this team? What kind of players can we realistically go out and get? Ohio State has considerable financial capital, so they're able to do things like this. You're going to, as programs, you're going to have to lean a little bit harder on your NIL collectives and make sure that they're being innovative, make sure that they're taking on the right activities to generate as much revenue, as much money as possible, so that when this time of year comes, you can invest money. You can ask yourself, do you want to be aggressive? Do you want to stick with the product that you have? You want to go heavy on recruiting? You want to go heavy on transfer portal? What do you want this team to look like? And while that is a benefit, Ohio State, in a way, with this situation, they're kind of a guinea pig, if you will. Because, yes, teams have used the transfer portal a lot in past years. I mean, you saw how much Colorado used it last year. You see how much Ole Miss has used it in past years. I'm going to talk about Ole Miss in a video upcoming here, too, with how they use the transfer portal. But this was different. With the amount of quality players that Ohio State acquired and just how heavy they delved into the transfer portal. A lot of these guys are going to start. Some of the guys that other teams acquire in the transfer portal, they don't start. They have them for depth. All of these guys that Ohio State has acquired, they're starting. Now, when you look at teams in the NBA, for example, that have been aggressive in free agency. Sometimes it works, sometimes it gels, sometimes it doesn't. The Milwaukee Bucks went out and got Damian Lillard. The Celtics went out and got Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. Both of those teams are gelling pretty well right now. But then you've seen teams in the past, like the Brooklyn Nets, who went and acquired a bunch of guys, a bunch of A-list NBA athletes. It didn't really gel together. The personalities just didn't mesh. So is that what's going to happen here? Because Will Howard will be starting this year. Quinshon Judkins will be starting. Caleb Downs will be starting. How are they going to gel into the scheme and into the vision, the philosophy that Ryan Day has for each of their respective units? And their coordinators, their position coaches. How are they going to fit into the mix? That's what I ask myself. That's what's going to be interesting. Is because when you go all in like this, it's high risk and potentially high reward. But if it doesn't pay out, then that money you spent kind of went to waste while those around you are getting better. So this is a really new example. This is a really new situation, and depending on what level of success this brings to Ohio State, teams may copy this strategy in the future, or they may avoid it. So I'll be keeping my eye on Ohio State to see how this unfolds this year. But it's interesting. It's interesting to see how how college football is starting to evolve and how the transfer portal is taking a role in that and becoming a kind of free agency that teams use to reload and reflect on where they currently stand in the landscape of college football. It's going to be interesting to see. And it's really why I made this channel. So I can't wait to watch the Buckeyes this upcoming season. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.